The Messiah, his bride, and is this the Bible? I've always struggled with Psalm 45. I get the first half of it, but then it starts getting weird in verse 10. Pretend like you're me reading it. It starts with the author's heart overflowing, his tongue being a pen, ready to write, full of a noble theme, verses for the king. He wants to write about the king and how awesome he is. Well, this must be messianic prophecy. So the king described is the Savior, the promised one. Doesn't throw you for a loop when he starts talking about God blessing you forever, or riding out victoriously, or sinking your arrows in the heart of your enemies, because the Messiah only fights to defend people from evil and injustice. It's pure truth, humility, with no corruption, unlike every human ruler the world's experienced. Cool. You want someone to save you like that. You want someone you can trust to have perfect integrity in deciding who's right and who's wrong, who also has the power to defend the innocent and stop oppressors. Even better, his throne's going to last forever. He's always going to be good. He's always going to be the person with the most joy. Everything about him is sweet, even down to his clothes and the people in his court. There's even going to be a queen, a bride, clothed in every bit of his splendor. You start getting excited, thinking how the Messiah will be fully seen in all his glory, with his bride right there with him. It makes all those Bride of Christ references in the New Testament actually make sense. You get to be part of his treasured friend and partner forever. It could have stopped right there, and you'd be happy, but it doesn't. In verse 10, the author suddenly starts talking to this daughter, a girl or woman, telling her to forget her people and her father's house to go be with the king. If he already has a bride, why does she need to leave her family to be with the king? And why, if he already has a wife, would the king desire some other girl's beauty? Well, it doesn't get much better when the author says to bow to him because he's her lord or ruler. Well, that sets off every modern-day misogynistic warning bell in your head. And you have no idea what it means that the daughter of Tyre will bow with a gift, or that the rich will come seeking her favor. And then you go over a cliff. What is this about how glorious the princess is in her chamber, in her many-colored robes and virgin companions following behind her? Is this supposed to be some big orgy with the king? Oh, with joy and happiness they get led into his palace. For what? What the heck is going on? Are you even reading the Bible anymore? In place of your fathers shall be your sons. You will make them princes in all the earth, and your name will be remembered forever by all nations. He's talking about the girl still, right? You figure you've missed some references. If this chapter in the Bible is one of the best Hebrew poem songs of all time, withstanding historical scrutiny for thousands of years, it can't be about some big orgy with the king, who's the Messiah, can it? Calm down. You're right. It's not nearly as twisted as all that. First of all, it's a song with a musical theme to accompany it. To best understand the lyrics, you have to think like a songwriter. Songs rarely include music that continually changes all the way through. The theme gets introduced, developed, and then repeated. This song is no different. The note that goes with it says it's set to the choir master, the lilies, a certain song or piece of music. It further says it's a maskil, which had something to do with wisdom or understanding, maybe. There are a number of psalms written as maskils, and a few that are set to this specific piece of music. The other important point to remember is that Psalm 45, like I described before, rhymes thoughts. Each section compares to or builds on the others. Consider verse 1 as something of an introduction, or possibly even a chorus. The rest divides up into two sections. The first, verses 2 through 9, about the king, Messiah, and the second, verses 10 through 17, about the girl, woman, bride. Compare the arrangement of themes for each part. You'll see that they correspond amazingly well to each other, showing masculine and feminine qualities of the same character trait. Now, verse 2 and 3 talk about the king being more striking and wonderful to look at than anyone else and having grace on his lips. He's incredibly charming with his words. Not necessarily a great kisser, although he's probably good at that too. That's why God has poured out blessings on him forever. So take that power out, the psalmist says. Put your sword, the full amount of your strength, at your side, ready to display your glory and majesty. Don't hide it. Let everyone be in awe of you. In comparison, verse 10 finds the writer imploring the girl, woman, to leave her father's house and her own people to be with the king. That way, he'll desire her beauty. In the place where you would expect the writer to talk about the daughter's glory and majesty, he implores her to worship the king. Her glory and majesty is found when she honors him. She shares in his glory, blessing, majesty, honor, and power as she worships him. Whoa. Now the psalmist tells us the reason for the Messiah to display his power in verse 4. Be successful because of truth, humility, and righteousness. He doesn't destroy everything and everyone who doesn't understand him like some human conqueror. He's guided by truth and compassion. He's only goodness, no injustice, surrounded by so much good he can't make a wrong decision. His unstoppable power, his right hand, teaches him awesome things. He exhales humility. He knows the perfect balance between the need to destroy evil and save those who have been deceived by it. That Messiah will defeat all evil demonic forces and everyone who utterly sells their soul to do evil against God and his children. Even better, he'll save the ones they oppress. His arrows are sharp. He ain't playing around. He can deal with evil. So what's the feminine counterpart to that? Verses 12 and 13 say that the daughter of Tyre will come with a gift, and the rich among the people will seek your favor. Now, to get this, you have to know what Tyre represented to the Jewish people. In 1 Kings, Tyre had the best craftsmen and building materials in the region. Hiram came from Tyre with some other guys to build Solomon's temple. Tyre was the capital of Phoenicia, a country known for its fleet of merchant ships. Throughout the world, it stood on an island just off the coast, a sparkling jewel in the sea. They could procure anything you want and had been exposed to everything interesting or beautiful in the ancient world. They were cultured. They were rich. They were snobby. When Solomon went to give the king of Tyre cities in exchange for their craftsmen, making Israel beautiful, the king of Tyre said, "These are worthless." He literally named the cities good for nothing. Good for nothing? This wasn't like Elijah in a camel hair coat he was talking to. Solomon made silver worth nothing. He had a palace and throne more luxurious than any king on earth. The king of Tyre turned his nose up to him. Later in Ezekiel 28, when God proclaims judgment against Tyre, it says that the heart of the king got so proud, he thought he was God, just like Satan did. See below for additional note on Solomon and the king of Tyre. Read it, because, I'm talking to you. So the daughter of Tyre is that stuck-up girl in high school that's pretty and popular and talented, and she knows it. She's Dallas in comparison to Waco, New York City to Springfield, Missouri, London to Stoke-on-Trent. She thinks she's better than you, and she'll make sure you know it. Psalm 45 says that stuck-up girl will come bowing with the gift, begging you to forget the way she treated you. She'll recognize how glorious you've become. Rich people will beg you to give them something. That's what's going to happen to your rivals. They'll never play the comparison game ever again. Now the lowly girl enters the palace in verse 13. Just like the king rides clothed in power and humility, she slips on robes of grace and beauty. Every part of her shines with wonder, inside and out. Even the thread of her clothes sparkles with the most costly materials. No price could be too large to lavish on this girl turned royalty. Verse 6, 7, and 8 display the full majesty of the Messiah. His kingdom, rule, and reign last forever. He's guided only by goodness and complete rightness. Evil never comes close to entering his thoughts. That's why God puts a crown on his head. God, your God, has crowned you. When the Messiah has already been declared to be God, that's a tough concept for humans to wrap their minds around, so I'll leave it for theologians to explain God's three-in-one nature. Even better, it's a crown of joy. The Messiah bubbles with more joy than anyone around him. He's a party to be around. He's happy and genuine, and I'm in love. Even his clothes smell amazing. His palace exhales peace, richness, and complete satisfaction. Now look at the girl turned princess in verses 14 through 16. She walks toward the king in all her beauty. It's not something weird. It's a wedding. Her sisters and friends celebrate her, dancing and singing because they're her bridesmaids. They can't stop themselves from smiling. They enter the king's palace and give her to the king to be his queen forever. Instead of people knowing about her father and those who have gone before her, they'll remember the exploits of her children. She's going to be more famous and glorious than them all, sharing the glory right alongside the Savior. And then each section culminates. In verse 9, we see the queen standing with the king, clothed in glory and honor. The Messiah will have a bride as beautiful as he is. A heavenly marriage will take place between God's people and their Savior. The first section shows the Messiah preparing to receive his bride. If we didn't have the second section, the picture wouldn't paint the bride's perspective. Then verse 17 trumpets the culmination of the big day, with everybody standing before the king and queen. Oh, remember when Prince William and Kate Middleton kissed on the balcony of Buckingham Palace while thousands of people cheered? Well, Psalm 45 has billions and billions of people, angels, galaxies, the wealth of the entire universe, and the party lasts for the rest of time. It's the ultimate Cinderella story of rags to riches, king getting married to commoner, girl transformed into glory. The creator of the universe longs to be glorious so that he can share his glory with you. He wants all of humanity to partake in the intimate relationship he's experienced since before time. When your mind swells with that much hope, you'll change how you live. It'll affect every aspect of your daily life and the world around you. Families will start spending more time together. Businesses will serve their customers better. The legal system will finally deliver justice. Evil will get banished from hearts. Children will grow up to be adults who haven't lost their innocence. Isn't that what your heart yearns for? As an additional thought, all of Solomon's riches and palace were actually built after he built the temple and tried to give some cities to the king of Tyre as a present. Maybe at the time when he first met him, Solomon dressed humbly, like his father. Maybe the king of Tyre's response made him feel insecure. Maybe he felt like he needed to dress and decorate and show off like the richest king in the world. Maybe it started his slow decline. I don't know. Maybe. Now, follow-up questions. First of all, what does Psalm 45's portrayal of us as his bride indicate about the value of women? What can men... Okay, so you got that one? Okay, let's hold on for a second. I'll give you time to think about it. Now, number 2. What can men learn about God's love from a woman's perspective? Or what could woman learn about God's love from a man's perspective? Think about it. Talk about it with somebody else.